Hey everyone, it's been a few weeks since InfoComm, so I've had time to collect my thoughts, and I want to share with you what I learned at the booths. But first, full transparency, this video is not sponsored in any way, although over the last 20 years, I've worked with many of the companies that we're going to talk about here. Also, I'm currently working on projects with AVer, Crestron, iContact Camera, Neat, and Nureva, so I might have more information about those vendors. And last thing, before we jump into the exhibit hall and look at the booths, I want to thank the InfoComm Avixa team. I had 3 sessions. It was amazing. And I want to give a shout out to all of my panelists by putting their links in the description below. Please follow them all on LinkedIn. They were all amazing. So our first booth, we're going alphabetical here, is the Alliance for IP Media Solutions. Now, usually I talk about things kind of on the front end, the consumer-facing stuff. This is really back-end stuff, but I want to talk about it because it's important. Standards, people who work behind the scenes know, standards make things so much easier, and good standards make the experience better for the end user. So this is important to everyone. And the big story at the booth was, last time I talked to them, last time I visited them at a trade show, it was, they were talking about the standard, IPMX. And at this show, they had multiple vendors, multiple partners demoing the standard. So it's happening. Next is the AVer booth. There's the famous AVer wall of cameras. There was a lot to see at the AVer booth. It's really worth learning everything. You should watch. I did a video with James Salter after the show, and we went through everything at the booth. I'm not going to go over it all again here. You could watch the video. I'll put the link below. But I want to give you my one big takeaway. A lot of vendors are marketing to a lot of verticals, saying put your cameras everywhere, but they're designing for all the verticals. They had a new, at the booth, broadcast camera with features designed for broadcast. They had a medical camera. They had a document camera. So all these different verticals, they're not just marketing towards them, they're designing for them, and they have unique cameras for these use cases. All right, on to Barco. I wish I had a click share button right here. You would see it and immediately know what we're talking about here. Now, there was a lot to see at the Barco booth, but I was interested in the new Click Share Hub. And the screenshot's kind of interesting. In a way, it's a terrible picture that I took here because it doesn't show the product. The Click Share Hub itself, it's a black box, but I guess you're not supposed to see it. You're supposed to see the experience. So maybe this is a good screenshot. The box itself, you probably hide behind the monitor or in the cabinet or something. But what the experience is, it's your choice of video bar, your monitor, the Click Share panel, and your laptop, and it's a video conferencing system. And you may be thinking, okay, so what kind of video conferencing system is it? Is it running Microsoft Teams, giving the Microsoft Teams room experience, or is it bring your own BYOD, running whatever you have on the laptop? And it's either, which is really cool because customers are wanting both options, and not one option in one room and one option in another room. They want the flexibility of a system that can do both. Next is Cisco. I want to talk about the Roombar Pro, but first they have a new PTZ camera with intelligence inside, AI on the edge for framing and tracking. They're not first to the category, but this is a nice option for customers because Cisco makes great video hardware. As far as the Roombar Pro, there's a lot of video bars out there. There's only a few that I would consider top tier, and I think this is one of them. And, it makes sense. Cisco is the leading hardware video conferencing manufacturer. And bars, particularly bars for Teams, I think it's, if not the hottest segment, it's certainly one of the hottest segments. So they're spending a lot of time focusing on explaining to us how the Roombar Pro is a great bar for Microsoft Teams. I do feel like WebEx isn't getting a good deal here, but I just don't know what the answer is. We've talked about this to death. They did such a good job making WebEx from WebEx, what it used to being one of the top 5, maybe top 3 UC platforms in the world. And I just don't know how. I don't know how to solve the problem of no one's using it. Okay, I wasn't going to say that. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I'm not going to edit it out because, well, it's not entirely true, but there's something to it. And I don't know what the answer is. It seems like the only strategy is they're getting new customers on Contact Center. If you're on Contact Center, it makes sense to use the rest of WebEx, but I feel like I don't have the answer. I feel like there should be something more. I feel like WebEx is better than that. All right, we're only on the C's and I'm already getting in trouble. Let's move on to Crestron. There's so much to see at the Crestron booth. I could spend days talking about everything I learned there. I spent a lot of time actually learning what they're doing with AV over IP. Too much to get into here. They had a whole sports bar show set up so they could show the what they're doing with the displays. But in our world, content, collaboration, and control. Now, that it may sound like a marketing tagline, but it really does help me. And I think it helps Crestron customers. They have so many products. If I was going into Crestron as a customer, I'd be like, I don't know where to start. You know, should we talk about your cameras first or the panels? And I think Crestron is redefining it as, let's talk about what you want to do in the room. You know, what do you want to share? What do you want to work on? Who do you want to talk to? And yes, if anything is controllable, lights, how do we want to control them? And from there, we can figure out the products. There's our friend Kara at the booth giving the demo. Kara was on the show recently explaining to us about Crestron's visual AI direction. They had a bigger space than that, a huge space at the booth demoing this at the show, and it was constantly crowded. It's their multi-camera meeting equity solution. You can learn more about it here. I'll put a link down below. Our next booth is DTEN, and this was one of the more fun booths at the show because I like when things are a little different, a little extra, and it seems like everything that DTEN does, they find a way to make it a little bit extra. A great example is their vertical video bar. Everyone's talking about this. It can be mounted either way. And yeah, it's cool just because it's different, but it actually could give a better experience. The eye contact might be better. It's in the middle instead of on top. And it looks nice in between the monitors like that. It seemed like every product at their booth had something like that, something where they put a little extra thought into it and came up with something that made me like it. They actually won an award at the show for that kind of creativity. They repurposed one of their boards, a smaller board, as a kiosk. So coming into an office, you can use it for a guest sign-in, directions to where you're going, hot desking, that kind of a thing. The next booth was Elgato. This is about as close as I got. They were very popular. They are not a sponsor. I'm just a fan. I can't help it. I've liked their products for a long time. I'm excited that they're in a space. As a streamer, they've made the best home streaming gear forever. And the home streaming setup is a home Zoom setup. It is a home team setup. This is what I've been recommending to executives who say, I want better gear at home. It's premium, but it's not overpriced. It's quality, camera, microphone, prompter, lights, green screen, everything you need for a home video conferencing setup. Now, what they're really famous for is their Stream Decks. I'm not going to get into it here. It is a business tool. It is amazing. It is now certified for Zoom. And full disclosure, they did send me the big Stream Deck for free. Thank you, Elgato. I love it. But I have plenty of tutorials. I'll put some links below. Check it out. And they won an award at the show for their prompter. The prompter is particularly cool for business because you're not limited to just putting a script on it. You can use it as a monitor. So you could put Zoom or Teams on it and you're making eye contact with the person that you're in a meeting with. They also won another award at the show for their Stream Deck Studio, which is the production version of the Stream Deck. The next booth was HP Poly, and in partnership with Google, they had the most amazing thing at the show. This was the future tech. This is the kind of thing you go to InfoComm to see. And what it is true 3D. Now, I've been fascinated by 3D for a long time. I know all the tricks of how to make 3D work. I know how it works behind the scenes. And I haven't been interested in 3D for a long time because for 3D to actually work, the way 3D works in real life is the view changes when you move your head. So to work on a 2D screen, it would somehow have to know where your eyes are in real time and with no latency change what is on the screen in relation to based on where you move your head. And that's how this works. So I am a believer without even seeing the demo. The lines were always too long. But I talked to plenty of people who did see the demo and it's unbelievable. It's not just, oh, wow, this really looks like 3D. They didn't believe it was real. They thought they were being tricked and the person was actually sitting in the room with them. And they weren't saying that hyperbolically. They really didn't believe and they had to reach out and touch them. And based on my understanding of how the technology works, I believe it. So as a technology, I'm a believer, I'm all in. As a product, I don't think we might not be quite there yet. It's a little bit expensive. You can't do multi-point. You can't do 3 or 4 people in a call. You need to buy 2 of them, one for yourself and one for the person you're talking to. There's a lot of problems that are going to block adoption of this. Next is Huddly. Huddly's always been a little different, and they have a video bar that's a little different, which I like. You know, it's nice to have things that are a little different. Huddly's an interesting company. They've always had these cameras with all this processing power, all this intelligence, and we were always like, well, you know, what are we going to do with that intelligence? We weren't ready for it yet. And now with AI, we're ready for it. One of the things that this can do is it connect to other Huddly cameras and form a crew. I like that the term crew is what they're using to give a multi-camera experience. Next is the iContact camera. Now this is so funny. We've all had this idea. Everyone in the industry has had this idea. If we put a camera in the middle of the screen, will have great eye contact in video meetings. And we've all dismissed this idea for the same reason. I don't want a camera in my screen when I'm not in video meetings, when I'm doing my video editing, when I'm in my spreadsheets, I don't want it there. And eye contact camera came up with the simplest idea. You flip it up when you're not using it. I wish I had thought of this. Sometimes the best ideas are just that simple. If you're interested in learning more about this, I have a video on it. I'll put the link below. But let's move on to our next booth. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but I want to talk to you about a cardboard box. That's right, Jabra is famous for their audio. I'm not going to talk about their headsets. And they have the Panacast. Now, I've been following the Panacast since Jabra knew about the Panacast. I'm a fan of the Panacast, and of all the video bars out there, only Jabra has it. So I should be talking about that, but nope, we're talking about a cardboard box. Now you might think I'm joking, but this actually is really cool and really important. They were fighting over this box at the booth to show it off to people. The problem is, okay, imagine you're working for a big university and you get 100 video bars and you have to deploy them and they're all going to run Zoom or Teams. So what do? Now you could install each one in each room and then go to each room with a laptop and configure each one remotely in location like that. Or the easier way, you could sit at your workstation and take each one out and connect it to your demo unit and configure it. Now that's much faster and much easier, but at the end of the process, you have a pile of 100 unboxed video bars. You are going to get fired. So Jabra came up with this clever solution. This box has this, it's a peekaboo box. You slide it open here, that opens the panels. The instructions are right there. And at your workstation, you can then connect it to network, power, monitor, log into it, provision it, configure it, maybe write on with your Sharpie what room number it goes into. And then you have a bunch of boxed video bars ready to go. Just bring them up to the rooms, plug them in, and you're done. Now let's run over to the AV over P side of the show floor and we'll check out the Just Add Power booth. Now what we're seeing here, this is a bunch of monitors, different configurations, different shapes, and they're showing one image. To do this is pretty tricky usually, but it's really easy with Just Add Power software. Now this may be a little artsy for your needs, but if you can do this, imagine how easy it is to control a traditional multi-panel display. Just Add Power has a really loyal customer base, and it's because of this kind of ease of use and flexibility. Next, we head over to the Lenovo booth. Lenovo does collaboration. They do a lot of collaboration, actually, but I want to focus on their Think Smart One Pro video bar because it's really unique. It's going in the opposite direction. Everyone's trying to make simpler bars, just running Android instead of Windows, make it lighter, make it easier, and they're adding muscle to this. This is running full Windows 11. It's got an Intel processor, and the point is, it's not just a video bar. It is a computer, and there's a lot of uses for that. What if in your collaboration room, in between your meetings, you want to run Blender or Unreal Engine, you want to do some 3D modeling? You need a real computer in the room. And who better to make a video bar that is a computer in the room than Lenovo? They do compute. This actually makes a lot of sense. Next is Logitech. They now have a 65-inch version of their board, and you can now connect 2 of their center of table sight devices to get more camera angles in the room. The next booth was a lot of fun, the Multitaction booth. Now we all love our touchscreens, and it's kind of amazing to me that this is the only company that seems to be taking it to the next level. It's not just a touchscreen, it has object detection. It can see what you're putting on it and do different things depending on what you throw on it. Like let's say you throw your business card on it, your presentations can come up. Or put your coffee mug down on it, maybe your calendar and schedule and morning meetings come up. There's probably better examples, but there's a lot of use cases, and it seems like they're the only company that's exploring this technology. Very, very cool. Our next booth is the Neat booth. There's Priscilla. There was a lot of announcements, a lot to talk about at the Neat booth. Too much to go into here, but fortunately I did a video with Brianna. We'll put a link down below so you can learn everything that they had to show at the booth. I will give you my one big takeaway is growth. This company is growing. Growth in products, growth in partnerships, growth in marketing campaigns, growth in employees. And it feels, this may sound a little weird, but it feels like a different kind of growth. It feels that most businesses are like a little bonsai tree. You put it in the sunlight, you water it, and you see what happens, you nurture it, and you hope it grows wherever it wants to grow. This feels more like Neat is building a skyscraper. They have a blueprint. They know exactly how many floors it's going to be. They know exactly where the wiring and plumbing goes, and they're just putting it in place. They're not waiting to see where it's going to grow. They know exactly what the end game is, and they're just getting those girders and lining them up. Next, we head over to the NetSpeek booth, and this may have been my favorite booth at the show just because I love LLMs, and I love a good use of LLMs, and this is an LLM that really is going to help our AV people. There's Sam Kennedy, and he's demonstrating Lena, the Language-Enabled Network Administrator. And basically, it's a personal assistant that understands AV systems that you can talk to in natural language. Our product people have done a great job of making UIs for the systems. You can log into any video bar, and you can set it, and it's kind of easy to do. But there's a lot of systems we've had to learn, and there's a lot of bouncing around and logging in and out of all of them. It's great if you could just have a personal assistant you could say, update the video bars on the 5th floor, turn off all the lights on the 6th floor, instead of having to log in and do it yourself. And that's what Lena is. You just talk to it in natural language. Update all the products in the building, whatever. You just talk to it like it's a person. All right, I'm not doing it justice. You need to reach out to Sam and get a demo. But I'm telling you, we're going to look back at this and say, okay, this might have been the biggest thing at the show. Next is Nureva. I interviewed Rob after the show. I'll put a link below so you could learn everything. But the big news at the show is their new HDX. Now, I'm worried that people aren't getting this. This isn't just a new microphone, new speaker, a new product. This is a paradigm shift for in-room audio. We know Nureva for their HDL, their conferencing system, and the microphone mist. You could stand anywhere in the room. It's as if you have a microphone right in front of you. This is the same kind of thing for in-room audio. They have one of the features is something called voice lift. So anyone speaking, anyone anywhere in the room is the presenter. You don't have to stand at the lectern in front of the microphone. You have a virtual microphone in front of you wherever you are, and anyone can hear you anywhere in the room. Rob explains it a lot better than I can, so please check out the video. I'll put the link below. Next is Q-SYS. Now, if you watch my video like this from last year's InfoComm, I was blown away by their booth demo. We're all talking about things that AI could potentially do in a room, and they were doing it. They had a presenter at the front, and someone starts speaking at the back, and the lights dim and light up on the person that's speaking. And everyone starts talking, and the lights all go on. And the presenter starts talking, and the cameras switch, and the screen. It was incredible, and it was all automated, it was all AI, and it was all real. This year, in addition to that, I got an NDA briefing. Now, obviously, I can't tell you everything, but I can kind of hint a little bit. What they showed us was so cutting edge. I mean, this was really, really cool. The engineers were all like hovering around nervously to make sure everything would work. This isn't stuff that's fully baked. This is like the cutting edge, newest stuff. It was so cool. And all I can say is, if you like the stuff I talked about before, about how Q-SYS is using AI to know what's going on in rooms and do helpful things, you ain't seen nothing yet. This was mind-blowing. Next is Sennheiser. Yes, Sennheiser does have a video bar, and yes, it is meant for business enterprise deployments. I made sure they have a remote management monitoring solution. And, there's two things that are interesting about this. First of all, people love Sennheiser audio. People love their ceiling tiles. A video bar that has Sennheiser audio in it, already that's interesting. But even if this wasn't a Sennheiser bar, there's something compelling about it. It has Dante. And people who like Dante. I'm not going to get into the whole Dante thing, but it's Dante in and out, so you can attach a Dante microphone to extend the range of it, or send it out to a DSP to enable additional processing. Next, we have Sound Control Technologies. Now, you might have skipped by their booth because what they do isn't very flashy, but it's very important. Everyone has all these displays and cameras and all this great stuff to look at, and they make extenders. But extending isn't easy. It really is complicated. The cables that we use especially for AV, it's an IP cable, you could run it forever. These cables you can't. They lose their power. You need specialized extenders, and sometimes product based. You can't just get one extender for everything. You need to have something special for what you're using, and that's what these guys do. On to Vaddio. Now, Vaddio always has cool stuff, and I think what they were really showing at the booth, they have some advances in AV over IP. But what I liked is this document camera. It's mounted, as you can see, in the ceiling. It's got a laser that points down so you know where to put your document, and obviously, mounting it in the ceiling, it's less likely to get bumped and knocked over. It's also just really cool looking. I like cool technology. And they aren't the only vendor that has a, ceiling recessed document camera like this, but Vaddio's is particularly easy to install and manage. And finally, we have Zoom, where I got to talk to Andy himself about Zoom and the Stream Deck. There's a new plugin for the Elgato Stream Deck. We already talked about Elgato and the Stream Deck. For Zoom, I have a video for it. I'll put a link below. Yes, it is easier, and yes, it is better to control Zoom through a Stream Deck. And this isn't, it's not just that they have a plugin for it. This is a certified Zoom device, and it is the first Zoom certified productivity device. Andy created a new category. We certify cameras, we certify headsets, now we certify devices. I can't wait to see what Andy does next. I'm going to track him down. I'm going to try to track him down and get him on the show. If you want to see that happen, say something in the comments and hit the like button. It helps. All right, so that wraps up InfoComm 2025. It was a great show, and it was great to see everyone. It was great to see my fellow analysts and friends. It was great to see all the vendors. And again, thank you to the InfoComm and Avixa teams for hosting this event and for giving me 3 sessions. It was really awesome. Thanks everyone for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and please like and subscribe.